Tonight, anger and anguish. Disturbing new details in the deadliest mass stabbing in Canadian history. A horrific chain of events in Saskatchewan, from the first victim to the last.
He kicked open the back door and entered the house.
The shocking scope of a murderous rampage.
I want her death to mean something.
A Canadian under investigation after selling a illegal substance used in a series of suicides overseas.
They can be very hazardous and toxic.
Grieving families demanding answers. Plus, the pinch hitter and the power of perseverance.
I was like, this is it, this is the moment. Take a deep breath.
A major league moment, 13 years in the making.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. The killer's brother warned they were on a mission hours before a stabbing rampage in Saskatchewan that left 11 people dead and started a manhunt last September. The RCMP gave chilling new details today about the complex investigation with 42 different crime scenes, 257 witness interviews, and nearly 700 exhibits. CTV's Jill Makashon with the revelations and the lingering questions.
RCMP laid out the timeline of the Saskatchewan tragedy, a stabbing spree that killed mothers and sons, grandfathers and grandmothers.
Everyone has been waiting for answers. Answers to what happened, answers as to why it happened.
The two brothers, Miles and Damien Sanderson, had gone to the First Nation to sell cocaine, and in the hours preceding the attacks, witnesses said Damien Sanderson alluded to something more.
That he and Miles, quote, have a mission to do. And that, quote, people would hear all about it in the next few hours.
By the morning of September 4th, the stabbings had started, and the first victim, police say, was Damien Sanderson, found dead on the First Nation. Miles Sanderson acted alone in the killing spree, moving from house to house, stealing at least 6 vehicles, stabbing veteran Earl Burns in his school bus after he chased Sanderson and tried to stop him. He killed Lydia Gloria Burns and Bonnie Burns as they tried to help Bonnie's son Gregory, who was also killed.
We can hope that out of this, and for me, out of my sister's death, that we can learn something.
The chief is calling for a permanent Indigenous police force on James Smith Cree Nation. RCMP revealed Sanderson continued his murderous rampage even after Mounties had arrived on the First Nation investigating the first frantic calls.
His attacks were unpredictable. As fast as information was coming in about a vehicle he was in, he was abandoning that vehicle, moving on foot, and then stealing other vehicles.
The last murder was in the nearby village of Weldon, where Sanderson stopped at Wes Peterson's home and killed the elderly man. Despite days of alerts that Sanderson was in Regina, he was flushed out only 40 kilometers from the last murder scene. Arrested on a highway, he died minutes later.
RCMP won't say how he died. That is part of a coroner's inquest, and an independent investigation will look at how police responded to the emergency. With the Sanderson brothers dead, the motive for mass murder may never be known. Omar.
All right, Jill, thank you. Ontario police are investigating reports a Toronto area man sold illegal substance to people who then died by suicide. Sodium nitrite is a preservative used in food, but can be lethal in larger doses. CTV's Heather Wright on the Canadian connection to a British father's tragic loss.
A 22-year-old student studying philosophy at St. Andrews University in Scotland. Tom Parfitt took his own life in a hotel room 18 months ago.
A lovely man, very sweet, kind, loving man. But as you can imagine, also had his challenges.
Tom's father, David Parfitt, says his son struggled with anxiety, something family and friends were trying to help him with. But it was on a Canadian website, David says, that his son was able to buy a lethal amount of sodium nitrite and kill himself.
Difficult to put into words. You've got a man there who's playing God with other people's lives, recklessly playing God.
A Times of London investigation claims Kenneth Law from Mississauga, Ontario, has been selling this substance to suicidal young people in the UK. Peel police confirm they have opened an investigation but won't comment any further. After his son died, David wanted to see just how easy it was to find and buy these salts online.
I ordered this poison from Tenlaw. It cost less than 100 Canadian dollars, being sent from Canada to London within a few days.
Sodium nitrite is allowed in Canada as a food additive, usually used to preserve meat, but it's regulated to ensure it's sold in quantities that are safe for consumption.
It appears to take just a few tablespoons of consuming some of these compounds can cause death fairly quickly.
Dr. Tyler Hickey is a forensic pathologist who has researched the rise of intentional poisoning using these salts. He wants there to be a larger conversation about ways to regulate them, something the health minister is aware of.
Certainly talking with my colleagues, ministers of health, who obviously have both the responsibility and the ability to make sure that these circumstances don't occur.
While the website in this case has been taken down, David Parfitt says law enforcement dropped the ball.
I just want to see the changes put in place to make sure that this stops.
It's not clear what charges, if any, might be laid in this case. It's illegal in both the UK and Canada to assist suicide and carries a sentence of up to 14 years in prison in both countries. Omar.
All right, Heather, thank you. Rival factions in Sudan have agreed to renew a ceasefire for another 3 days, though there are still reports of heavy fighting in the capital. Today, for the first time since the conflict began, Canadian planes carried out rescue missions for those stuck in the middle of the violence. CTV's Adrian Gobriel reports.
Following 13 days of deadly urban warfare, Canadian Wings of Hope touched down in Sudan. The first of 2 Canadian Air Force flights airlifted 45 people. The second had 73 passengers on board. Of those flown to safety by Canada's Air Force, 44 are Canadian citizens.
This is very good news.
Flying evacuees out of the African nation has been a dangerous, arduous task. From Sudan's Wadi Sadina Air Base, evacuees were flown to Djibouti. From there, a commercial flight is taking passengers to Nairobi. Once in Kenya, they're responsible for the next leg of their travel. Global Affairs Canada confirms that $170,000 have been loaned to those in need of financial assistance for airfare and accommodations.
There is a need to place assets where the needs are the greatest, and that's exactly what we are doing.
CTV News has been following a Canadian family's desperate attempt to flee the violence. Safi Mustafa and her mother are Canadian citizens. Mustafa's 89-year-old grandmother, who they're in Sudan caring for, is not a Canadian. The 3 risked their lives to drive to the airbase on Wednesday, where they say they were denied boarding a Dutch military evacuation. This morning, Mustafa shared this encouraging message.
A miracle might be happening. The Canadians are here. I talked to the Canadian military. Let's pray that we get on this flight. And I think the issue is like numbers.
The 3 say they were told they could board. That was before their door to safety was once again slammed shut.
Literally, the people that were faster than us just ran on the plane, and they started closing the plane doors. They were like, "No, you got to go back." And then when we get to the plane is closing its door. I have never been more dejected in my life.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs is now investigating.
I heard through the media this specific case, so I've asked my diplomats to look into this.
The Canadian flights that took off today weren't at full capacity. The Mustafas are spending another night sleeping at the airbase in the desert, hoping that their turn will come with the rising sun. Omar.
All right, Adrian, thank you. The Prime Minister took his government's latest push for women's rights to the U.S., where access to abortion is at the center of a fierce debate.
In Canada, we're continuing to yes, we're a pro-choice government. We are unequivocal about that. We've expanded access to abortion pills, which really matters for people in rural and remote areas.
Justin Trudeau is speaking at the Global Citizen Now Summit in New York after Ottawa announced nearly $200 million over 5 years for groups supporting gender equality abroad. Human rights advocates have criticized cuts to foreign aid recently, but Trudeau insists overall spending has trended up. The Prime Minister's absence from home soil was again questioned by the opposition today as Ottawa and federal workers failed to reach a deal 9 days into the strike. As CTV's senior political correspondent Glenn McGregor reports, unions are finding new ways to ramp up the pressure.
Hundreds of striking public servants bused to a Quebec-New York State border crossing and met by mounted police. The protest was short and the border delays minimal. A big crowd of strikers also turned out at Toronto's Pearson Airport which warned travelers of potential delays getting to their gates. And in the national capital, marchers jammed a bridge from Ottawa to a government office complex in Gatineau.
The movement was like to peacefully block the traffic for a little while. So softly apply pressure.
Though there was little apparent progress resolving the dispute on the 9th day of the strike, the head of the Treasury Board said talks at least continue.
I know Canadians and public servants are feeling the impact of the strike. We respect, of course, the strike, but we have to find a way to find resolution.
The key issues remain. The union's demand for higher wages.
I live alone right now, so paying for everything on my own, and paycheck comes in and it's gone right away.
And enshrining the right to telework in a new contract.
Since we've been forced to work from home, I find it at least as efficient, and I disagree with management about the value of being present in the office.
Picketers brought their message to the Prime Minister's office.
We want to make sure our lowest paid members have a fair wage, and we can all get back to work. That's what we want to do, really. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I want to provide for my family. That's the most important thing.
The opposition was happy to point out that Justin Trudeau wasn't in town, instead attending a human rights conference in New York City.
Why doesn't the Prime Minister turn his plane around, get back to Ottawa, do his job, and get his government back to work?
What's happening is that we are negotiating. We are trying to find a reasonable deal for public servants that will be fair.
Though the disruptions caused by picketers today were minor, the union is promising to escalate its tactics to gain more leverage in bargaining. Omar.
All right, Glenn, thank you. Former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence appeared in Washington today to testify before a grand jury investigating his old boss. Security was tight at the federal courthouse, where Pence spent more than 7 hours under oath about Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Trump originally tried to block the appearance, but lost the appeal. Brutal storms are battering the southern U.S., with millions under a severe weather alert. In Texas, hail as large as baseballs hammered down, even causing this bull to run for cover. And rising floodwaters in Mississippi are now a growing threat, with levels in some areas reaching record highs. And today, Spain recorded its hottest ever temperature for April at 38.8 degrees Celsius in Cordoba in the south. Millions there continue to swelter in a spring heat wave. Temperatures are between 10 and 15 degrees warmer than usual for this month. When we come back,
this was a perceptive question.
Remembering Jerry Springer, the king of the confrontational TV talk show. Plus,
a long, long time ago.
A surprise serenade by South Korea's president.
And now I knew if I had my chains, that I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while.
Jerry Springer changed the entertainment landscape with his tabloid talk show, famous for capitalizing on confrontation. His family confirmed today he died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 79. Here's CTV's Richard Madden on the politician turned TV ringmaster.
His TV show was lewd, salacious, and often chaotic.
Thank you. Welcome to the show.
But that was Jerry Springer's recipe for success, pioneering a shocking brand of daytime TV that defined an era.
Well, here's what I'm worried about, that one day this show will be put in a time capsule.
At the time, critics declared it the worst show on television, with a host gleefully pitting couples against each other.
What do you mean get married? You have a girlfriend?
I have a fiance.
And encouraging guests to embarrass themselves.
I'm standing up here.
But viewers couldn't get enough. The Jerry Springer Show spanned nearly 3 decades, 4,000 episodes, and at its peak, 8 million viewers. Ratings that sometimes topped daytime rival Oprah Winfrey. And Jerry Springer was under no illusions.
But I was hired to be a ringleader of a circus. Our show is as silly, crazy, outrageous, sometimes as stupid as you can get.
Gerald Norman Springer was born in 1944 in an underground bomb shelter in London. His Jewish family fled the Nazis and moved to the U.S. Springer went to law school and would later become the mayor of Cincinnati in the 70s, but resigned after a prostitution scandal.
Fence base where the U.S. dropped.
He would later reinvent himself as a local news anchor before getting his own syndicated show that vaulted him into stardom, forever changing daytime talk.
I'm here to meet Jerry.
Springer made other TV cameos, but it was his namesake show that cemented his legacy in American pop culture, ending each episode with a familiar final thought.
Take care of yourself and each other.
And in that spirit, Springer's family is asking fans to commit a random act of kindness in lieu of flowers. Richard Madden, CTV News, Washington.
A classic tune ingrained in American culture got an unlikely cover at the White House last night.
A long, long time ago.
South Korea's president belted out his favorite song from school at the state dinner hosted by his U.S. counterpart, Joe Biden.
And now I knew if I had my chains that I could make those people dance and maybe they'd be happy for a while.
Clearly, this rendition of Don McLean's 1971 chart topper American Pie was also a hit.
Something touched me deep inside the day the music died.
He's pretty good. Still ahead, when seeing isn't believing. The video art of artificial origin. A blockbuster multi-billion-dollar deal in Canada's oil sands today involving Calgary-based Suncor Energy. It's bought the Canadian operations of France's Total Energies for $6.1 billion. The purchase is expected to add 135,000 barrels a day to Suncor's production capacity. Artificial intelligence is currently capable of creating everything from a fake painting to a children's book. And now scientists are turning their attention to a moving medium. Here's CTV's John Venevali-Rao on the fast-paced race to perfect the art of AI movies.
Are you ready for best pizza of life?
If you want to get a sense of where AI-generated video is headed,
Knock, knock, who's there? Pizza magic.
check out this low-resolution, phony pizza commercial, getting lots of attention online because its creator says everything, including the people, were quickly conjured up by simply typing text into a computer, which then completely fabricated the scenes.
Now you can generate a video with nothing but words.
The services of a New York-based startup called Runway were used. It allows customers to describe what they want to see, and then AI creates a short video of it. And while far from perfect,
as a demonstration of what the technology is capable of and a pointer to where this technology is going, it's absolutely eye-opening and stunning.
an AI lab based in Toronto recently posted some of its own research. This generated by typing teddy bear playing electric guitar. There's a video of Kermit the Frog, a squirrel eating a tiny hamburger. All of these made by feeding just a few words into a machine, which did the rest.
The blue balloon is stuck in the branches of a redwood tree.
Google is working on its own text-to-video system, but has yet to make it public.
We think these capabilities can pave the way to real-world creative applications in art, design, and content creation.
Like ChatGPT and sites that can mimic someone's voice, the videos are further examples of generative AI, which is rapidly improving.
It's not too hard to imagine a future where you have on-demand personalized media. You know, I want to see a romantic comedy about someone who looks like me and the following things happen. Go and write the story and illustrate it and show me the movie.
Still, some worry about how the technology could be used.
We can now call the 2024 presidential race.
In the U.S., the Republican Party this week created this ad using AI imagery to attack Joe Biden's decision to run again for president, while others look forward to a lot of creativity being unlocked as we all plunge into uncharted territory. John Venevali-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Women's basketball star Brittany Griner spoke to reporters for the first time today since being released from a Russian prison last year. The 32-year-old said her 10-month detainment was difficult, but the hope of freedom and seeing her family anchored her.
I'm no stranger to hard times, so. See, you cried and you made me cry. Just digging deep, honestly. You know, you're going to be faced with adversities throughout your life. This was a pretty big one.
Quite quite the ordeal, and quite a memorable debut for NHL player Ty Cartier of the Seattle Kraken.
Eberle down low, shot, score! Cartier, welcome to the NHL!
The 21-year-old forward scored in his very first game in the playoffs, no less, in leading Seattle over Colorado last night. The NHL says Cartier texted his parents in Kingston, Ontario, that he was playing about 9.5 hours before puck drop. So they rushed out to Denver and got there just in time to take in his big moment. A nice birthday present for Cartier, who turns 22 on Sunday. An extra special celebration this year for sure. After the break.
My heart started pumping, and I was like, this is it, you know, this is the moment.
A baseball player's big break, more than a decade in the making. The odds of playing in a Major League Baseball game are thin. In fact, you've got a better chance of being struck by lightning than striking out on a professional diamond. Here's CTV's Melanie Nagy on the man who beat the odds.
13 years and more than 1,000 minor league games. That's how long it took to get to Pittsburgh's PNC Park and for Drew Maggie's dream to come true.
Making his Major League debut.
The 33-year-old infielder from Arizona made his debut in the majors last night.
I can't explain how I was feeling in the box. You guys, I didn't even know what to do. You guys were cheering me on.
They didn't just cheer him on, they gave him a standing ovation. A glowing tribute to a resilient player who refused to give up.
My heart started pumping, and I was like, this is it, you know, this is the moment.
A moment he never lost sight of, whether it was playing at Arizona State or season after season in the minors.
Once I got up to the plate, it was just, let's go.
It was in the 8th inning with the Pirates ahead of the Dodgers when Maggie finally got his chance. And watching him from the stands, his biggest fans, Mom and Dad.
I've never met anyone with more determination than him.
Also, he's just such a team player. Wherever he is, he inspires and is inspired by others.
Maggie made his plate appearance as a pinch hitter, but after several pitches, struck out on a slider.
Everything was moving fast, you know, something that I've been waiting for so long for, and, you know, I'm just happy.
With his first major league at-bat under his belt, Maggie couldn't help but share his lifelong motto.
Never give up, no matter what you're doing.
Persevering and following your passion, no matter how long it takes. Melanie Nagy, CTV News, Vancouver.
A field of dreams. That's a staff shot of this Thursday. John Venavelli Rao will be here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thanks for watching and good night.